Hi, I'm Andy Trotman, Head of News at Microsoft UK, and welcome to the latest episode in our series looking at how organisations are leading the way in today's digital-first world. Now, today we're exploring a topic that's close to everyone's heart, employee inclusion and well-being. And I'm delighted to be joined by two experts today, Kelly Munday, Global Client Director for WPP and a Mental Health Ambassador for Microsoft UK, and Michael Vermeersch, Digital Inclusion Lead, also from Microsoft UK. Thank you both for joining me. Kelly, I'd like to start off by asking you, this year we've seen a wave of disruption to employees' usual working habits. What is your advice to business leaders seeking to support the mental well-being of their staff at this time?
I think leaders need to be promoting flexibility. People are juggling a lot at the moment. So there's small things that people can do to enhance communication between employees and managers and senior execs is, not everyone can be on every call. So, recording it, being able to listen in your own time, having a place to go to know where all the actions are, encouraging communication. But more than anything, I think leaders need to have empathy at this time, because the more a leader can exhibit empathy and really understand the individual and their needs right now, I think they'll see that mirrored back at them and in their wider teams.
Michael, do you feel we'll be presented with more challenges or more opportunities to create an inclusive workplace as that new hybrid model emerges?
This is change. And even before a hybrid model, we went through change. And I would say in this is that this change was needed and it was urgent. We did this, but we did it in a tactical way. The great heroes and heroines of the story is the technology and the people. The technology had this, it could do this. We know that, and it succeeded and it helped us. But with the people, we just had to figure this out as we went on with this. But going forward, we haven't given long-term consideration what this actually means for people. The burnout challenges, being continuously on, and how to manage boundaries, all of that kind of stuff we haven't addressed because culture did not follow.
Kelly, what are the impact on staff productivity of these new working patterns?
From what I've seen and the data I've seen is productivity has shot up, and that's not just in Microsoft, that companies all over the world. We're filling our time, our commute time with calls, and we're losing a little bit of that valuable thinking time that we had in the day. That water cooler moment has disappeared a little bit. Every 5 minutes that you would have grabbed someone spontaneously seems to be a 30-minute call, and I think we need to kind of think about how we balance that. I think technology has been a huge enabler to that productivity, which is such a positive thing, especially when we can also collaborate more inclusively. If we look at, the technology that allows us to do captioning and subtitles, and really, people with accessibility needs don't need to feel left out in the world that we're in right now. So I think it's important to assess when technology is really helping us and supporting us and when it's becoming a negative. I know when the pandemic first hit, being dyslexic, I was really struggling working at home as much because the information overload was insane. Everything was email, everything was written, everything was IM chat. And, it just takes me longer to process written information. So I was really struggling with that. And I knew I'd lost that little bit of in-person communication and connection that I thrive on in my role. But then what I started to do was acknowledge that and really look at the technology, things like dictate, read aloud, that would allow me to have, that part of my working day become easier. So I didn't have to be reading it. It could be read to me and I could be doing something at the same time, because I often like to multitask. So I think the productivity is finding that right balance.
Kelly, one question I'm asking everyone who I interview for this series is, what's the one key piece of advice for C-suite leaders about how to use technology to empower the people in their companies?
So I think I touched on it previously, which is lead by example, but know that not one size fits all, right? If you're turning captioning on and you're subtitling in presentations, you're recording calls, allowing people to kind of dial in their own time. That's really inclusive, but I would say it's very easy to people to forget that not all of those things are helpful to everybody. And so while video calls are great, they can be exhausting, right? So I think leaders need to be empathetic to different working ways and different styles and different schedules, and understand what's really going on behind the screen with that person.
Michael, what's your view on that?
What we have seen is that to empower these kind of situations, we need a cloud collaboration technology, and M365 is kind of cool there because it overcomes typical barriers that are faced by so many people. But in that same vein, we should look at what the technology can bring in this, and as leaders, showcase this technology for what it is meant to do. It is there for the well-being of the employees. It's to make sure that they can be their best self. It's to make sure that they can thrive.
Well, this has been a fascinating discussion, but I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. I wanted to say thank you to Kelly and Michael for joining me, and thank you all at home for watching. Make sure you check out the other videos in this series.